Chapter 33. "What is it?" said Sam. "My brother's Henry Clay token." "Token?" "Something my father gave Jacob, from an election. My brother always had it with him." I looked at the others. "He must have been just here, eating at this table." "Gorry!" cried Thad. "That boat we heard!" "Taking him somewhere else," said Sam. With the token in my fist I tore away, and bolted up the companionway back to the main deck. Once there I rushed to the topgallant rail, one side and then the other, and stared out into the ashen dawn, as if somehow I might see Jacob. All I saw were the massive hulks of nearby ships. Thad and Sam found me at the rail. I was still gazing outward, tense with distress, trying to keep my pain within. I was also clutching that token as if it were Jacob. "Anything?" asked Thad. "Jacob was here," I said. "That man who saw me. He guessed we'd be coming to search for him. When we went one way, he went another and took Jacob. It just happened." Sam said it didn't need to be us coming to make them move him. Thad added might have been their plan all along. "I just want to know where they took him," I said. "Another ship?" said Thad. "I know that," I cried out in exasperation. "But which one?" "What I told you," said Sam. "If they just took him, most likely they've brought him to a ship that's about to leave the bay. That's the way crimpers work." "Then what ships are going?" I asked, willing to grasp at anything that could be helpful. "Can we find out?" Thad said they post the names of ships about to leave at my store. "Then go and get their names," I said, as if giving an order. Realizing how harsh I must have sounded, I added, "Would you please?" Thad gave me a look as if to say, "Go easy," but all he said was, "Sure." "Sam," I said, "will you keep searching with me? Maybe we'll be lucky. Do you have time?" "I'm not working." "Oh, Sam, I forgot." He lifted his shoulder. "Thad said somebody has to row me to shore." Full of new resolve, I said, "Let's go." We hurried off the ship and back into the rowboat. Thad was in the bow, Sam in the stern, me in the middle at the oars. I rowed back to the beach, so hard my hands hurt. Soon as we got close enough, Thad, holding his lantern, jumped out and waded ashore. "How are you going to know when to pick me up?" he called from the beach. "It's getting lighter," said Sam. "We'll see you, or wave your lantern." To which I added, "If we don't come, shout." I watched Thad walk along the beach until he became lost in the grayness, though his flickering lantern, like a firefly, remained in sight a longer while. Using one oar I spun the rowboat about. Sam said, "I can row faster." I gave way, and Sam, standing, took up the oars and began to work them. I went to the bow. The morning air was cold and clammy. Trembling from chill and tension, I put my shawl around me and pulled it tight. Adding to my frustration, the dawn's light dimmed as dense fog returned. Sam, still standing, rowed hard. The cove beach rapidly vanished from view. I said, "Why do you row standing?" "Sag Harbor way." In the bow I held up my lantern. "Hard to see," I said, as we headed out. "A few weeks ago," said Sam, "a ship coming in had to stay outside the gate for 7 days, waiting for the fog to clear. When my family came it was 5 days. Might have a good side." "What?" "The fog keeps ships out, but it also locks them in. Might mean the ship your brother's on can't sail. Could give us extra time." When we got in among the Rotten Row ships, Sam shipped the oars and held up his lantern. I held mine up as well. When I gazed up at the neglected ships, all I saw was a tangle of gigantic hulls, masts, and spars, all fading into the fog. It made me think of a vast spider web, and that Jacob was caught in it somewhere. The notion put goosebumps on my arms. I pulled my shawl around me tighter. Sam said, "Any notion as to which boat you want to search?" I looked about. No idea. "Hate to tell you," said Sam. "Be mostly luck." "Let's try that one," I said, pointing to the nearest ship. We got on her the way we had the others. As before, Sam was a lot faster climbing up the hull, but I was getting better. We searched the deck, looked down hatchways, called and called again. We found nothing. As the dawn grew brighter, our searching became easier, and with ships in this area pressed so close, we could jump from one to another and didn't have to return to the rowboat. That saved time. We searched 5 ships, main decks, twin decks, forecastles. We even checked deep holds, with me constantly calling for Jacob. We found no trace. We decided to go back to our rowboat and go to another part of Rotten Row. That we did. We found a ship, our 6th one, that had a rope ladder, and climbed on board. As Sam began to look about, I, feeling discouraged, held back. I stood on the main deck and looked toward shore, hoping I'd see or hear Thad. Our search would be so much easier if we learned what ships were leaving. That is, if we could find them. Wishing Thad would hurry, I remained in place, listening hard. The eddying fog had thickened, so I couldn't see shore or city. But as I stood there, I heard what sounded like the soft splish-splash of oars. "Thad?" I shouted, thinking that maybe he was coming after us on his own. At my call, the rowing sound ceased abruptly. I waited. All I heard was what sounded like the wash of water. I remembered that police officer. What if he's been following us all along and that was his oar sounds? Means he knows where we are. I whirled about. "Sam," I called, "come here and listen, quick." When Sam didn't reply, I assumed he'd gone to the lower deck. I hurried over and looked down the companionway. "Sam!" I cried. No answer. I tied my shawl round my waist in a tighter knot and hurried down the steep steps, holding on with 2 hands. It was much darker below, making it hard to see. "Sam!" "Here." It took some moments for me to find him on the 'tween deck. I said, "I may have heard someone. It could be Thad trying to find us or someone else. Come up and listen." Sam said, "Let me just check in here." He was moving toward the forecastle. I followed. There was just enough light for us to see that the door was closed with a metal hasp lock, an iron peg on a cord. Sam undid it with ease and pulled the door open. We went in and looked about. It was a long and narrow space, quite dark, with one small porthole which let in some little light. That allowed for some fresh air, a good thing because the air was close and fetid, the smell of rot intense. I said, "Did you live on ship in places like this?" "'Course." We started to examine the empty crew berths. A noise came from overhead. The instant we heard it, we stood still, looked up, and listened. The sounds weren't the moans and rasping of ship timbers we'd grown used to. These were sharp and hard. Sam pointed toward the ceiling and mouthed the word, "Footsteps." "Thad?" "Don't know." I listened fixedly. "Just now," I whispered, "on deck. I heard something out in the water." Sam said, "This ship has a ladder, easy to get on." More sounds. After a few moments, Sam, in a low voice, said, "One person, don't move." I didn't. The overhead footsteps halted, resumed, and then grew quiet. We waited there in the forecastle's semi-darkness, intent on sounds. At some point I realized I was observing a feeble light through the open door. I stared at it. Though ill-defined, it appeared to be someone holding a lantern. "Thad!" I called. "Shh!" Sam hissed sharply. The outside person not only ceased to move, but made no reply. Then the light vanished. "Not Thad," Sam whispered. I took a step forward, only to have Sam grab my arm and hold me back. "Careful, he's blocking the door." Sam made a waving motion. I took it to mean I was to move to one side of the door, which I did. He went to the other side. I understood. If someone came forward into the forecastle, we could slip behind him and get out. Again we waited. Next moment there was a slamming sound. The door had been shut. On the instant Sam threw himself against it and pulled. It was of no use. We were locked in.